Okay, so in this video, I wanted to talk about the Mac Studio. So I got the Mac Studio and I've been using the Mac Mini for the past 2 years or so in different variations from the M1 to the M2 Pro. But now I got the Mac Studio M2 Max and I wanted to tell you about it because it's really great. So stick around because we're going to talk about a lot of things that I think that you should know before purchasing this machine. Let's do this. So the first thing I want to mention is that I'm someone who uses a Mac computer mostly for video editing. That's essentially what I mainly use my Mac computers for. And I edit videos on Amazon, I edit videos on YouTube, and basically the Mac is the great tool for it because you get access to a software program that's called Final Cut Pro 10. Or X, depending on what your preferences are. Now, I'm someone who shoots in log. For those of you who don't know what log is, it's a very flat image profile, which means that you can really color correct and color grade your image to look incredible, just like the image that you're watching right now. So for me, essentially, the Mac is a tool and Final Cut Pro is a tool, and obviously the camera is a tool. But the trick is to find the right combination of these tools for your workflow. And the problem that I had with the Mac Mini was the fact that there was no SD card reader in the front. You know, I was using the Satechi Mini Hub and it actually works great. It's a very good, especially version 2 of the Satechi Hub is really, really good. And I made a review about it. But in this video, I just wanted to cover the Mac Studio because there was another issue that I had with the Mac Mini. Like, don't get me wrong, like I've been using the Mac Mini for 2 years and it's great, especially performance-wise, it's really, really good. I have no issues with the M1, the M2, or the M2 Pro. But apart from that, and apart from missing an SD card reader in the front, I was also lacking ports, okay? Now, I was using the Satechi Hub and the speeds were excellent, they really were. But I'm someone who likes to have really fast transfer speeds between different disks. And I'm not going to blow a fortune on, a spec'd out Mac Studio or a Mac Mini. Getting something like 8 terabytes would cost me an arm and a leg or two. But with the Mac Studio, what's really good about it is that you have 4 USB-C ports in the back, 2 USB-C ports in the front, and 2 USB-A ports in the back as well, which means that I can connect a lot of external SSDs. And for those of you who are thinking, well, that's great using something like a Samsung T7 SSD, but the speeds on that thing is not that great. Well, that's true, but you can get something like a Satechi NVMe, basically it's like an enclosure, an SSD enclosure. You put in an M2 SSD and it just works beautiful. You get really good performance. You get something like 3,000 megabytes per second, and it's just awesome. Now, the experience of having the Mac Studio, and I've only been using this for about a week or so, is that the performance is fantastic. The M2 Max definitely delivers. I really like it. I was going to get the M2 Ultra, but that's a lot of money, and maybe I'll try it someday, but for now, the M2 Max is more than sufficient for my needs. The thing that I really like the most about it is, again, the SD card reader in the front and the multitude of ports. You can connect so many external SSDs that it's just crazy. And you can hide it pretty nicely in the back. Like, you can't tell, but I actually have 4 external SSD in the back of this thing. You can't tell because, the sort of tower is sort of covering it. So I find that really nice. And I wanted to mention a couple of words about the SD card reader. So the SD card reader, it is fast. On the Satechi Hub, it was not good. What I had to do is I had to use an adapter in the front, which I mentioned in that video as well, that it was very good, it was fast and everything, but I want to have no adapters, Now, the SD card reader on the Mac Studio, it's fast, but it's not the fastest SD card reader I've ever tested, but it is sufficiently fast. It's about if you're gonna, download clips from your SD card to your Mac Studio, it's about 200 megabytes per second, 250. It's definitely sufficient. You can use an adapter and get additional 50 megabytes, but honestly, I'm glad with that. I don't have to use any adapters. This SD card reader is great. Apple, if you're listening, it would have been nice to have a micro SD card reader, but I'm not going to complain. This is a great machine. The fans are pretty big on this thing, and I haven't heard them once, and I've been doing some heavy editing for the past week, and it's feels like a fanless machine, to be honest. It doesn't get hot, and the performance is great. Like, I don't want to bore you with the details, but when you're exporting or importing or doing some kind of graphic GPU intense tasks in Final Cut Pro, the Mac Studio just handles it like a champ. And I'm working usually with 4K log 10-bit files. I'm not into ProRes, not a fan of that, but works great for that purpose.